Hi, everyone, and welcome to Wholesale Change. It's the webcast and podcast from Distribution Strategy Group, where we offer thought leadership for wholesale change agents like you. Because if you're dialing into this podcast, webcast, you're probably a wholesale change agent too. My name's Ian Heller with Distribution Strategy Group, joined as usual by my lovely and talented business partner, Jonathan Bein, PhD. Jonathan, how are you today, my friend?
Ian, delighted to be here with you, but it's been a minute since we've done a wholesale change, so this should be fun.
A lot of wholesale change has been happening while we've been gone.
Big time.
Yeah, good. Hey, in a couple of minutes, we're going to get to our guest, Brendan Breen, who's the CEO of ISA. We cannot wait for this conversation. We did just a little pre-call with him right before this call. And we've got some fascinating topics to discuss, like digital transformation, industry transformation, what's happening with AI, what's going on with the economy and tariffs. I mean, this is a good show. You've picked a good one to listen to. I mean, they're all good, of course, Jonathan. Now they're all good, right? But this is a really good one.
Yes. Some,
Um,
some are more equal than others.
exactly. Right. Good. Okay. But before we get started, I want to tell you about our upcoming conference, Applied AI for Distributors 2025. We got some fantastic speakers lined up. More on the way. It's June 24th through 26th in Chicago, right by the airport. It's easy in, easy out. We've got Trent Gillespie, CEO of Stellus AI, and a former senior AI leader at Amazon, Don Sarno, who's the SVP of Digital Experience North America at Sonopar, the world's largest electrical distributor, and Noel Russell, who's the founder and chief AI officer at the AI Leadership Institute, who yesterday was named by Thinkers 360 the most influential thinker on agentic AI in the world. I just wrote a column about agentic AI that came out yesterday. Man, it's the next big thing after LLMs. Do you agree, Jonathan?
100%.
Yeah,
Coming
yeah.
soon, coming soon, really soon.
Yeah, right. It's going to transform your life in a bigger way than LLMs have. So, there's some intrigue. Go read the article, come to the conference, or if you can't make it, send someone from your company. You really can't afford to continue to get behind on AI. If you're caught up, you need to keep up, and if you're ahead, you want to maintain your lead. So don't miss this. Wholesale Changes also brought to you by White Cup. I was delighted to be invited to speak to the entire White Cup team in Albuquerque a couple weeks ago. What a terrific team. I just love working with them. And, as they like to say, distributors need more from the CRM. Our research, Distribution Strategy Group's research, shows that purpose-built CRMs and analytics solutions drive higher adoption and faster ROI, outperforming generic and even ERP-based alternatives. It's pretty incredible. The purpose-built ones, as you call them, perform the best, Jonathan, right?
Absolutely.
And
They,
that's why,
they perform better than the general purpose ones. So if you think
yeah,
of the big ones at the top of the market, the ones that
yeah.
are built for distribution are purpose built.
Yeah, right. And they're faster to implement, provide better results. That's why YCUP CRM and BI is designed specifically for distributors with built-in business intelligence and AI that uncovers hidden sales opportunities and helps your team sell smarter. No heavy customization, no wasted potential, just actionable insights that drive results. Push past peak performance with YCUP. Visit go.whitecupsolutions.com/peak. Oh, I got to repeat that go.whitecupsolutions.com/peak to see how they can help your team level up today. All right. And with that, we'd like to bring in our guest, Mr. Brendan Breen, the CEO at the Industrial Supply Association. Brendan, thank you for joining us on Wholesale Change. And how are you today, my friend?
Not as good as you, Ian. I mean, you're highly caffeinated. You're coming out of the chute. We just had a nice little prep call here, and Ian was like pretty even keeled. Now the camera turns on, and boom, he's driving. So I'm excited, man. You just got me pumped up.
Good. I can tell you it's all legal influences only. This is coffee, man. That's all. I've been accused of the other, but no way, not in my lifetime. So, but hey, we're delighted to have you here. Let me stop the share here so we can have a conversation. So, we want to talk about an awful lot today, including your upcoming conference. But why don't we start by talking a little bit about what ISA's mission is, what you provide for members, who joins ISA, what they get out of it, what they put into it, et cetera.
Yeah, so a lot of questions about my favorite topic, ISA. So the Industrial Supply Association um, is the trade association for the industrial MROP channel. So what does that mean? It is is the whole channel. So there are organizations that cater to just distributors or just manufacturers. What ISA is an organization that has as equal stakeholders manufacturers and distributors of MROP products. So think of things like safety, cutting tools, abrasives, a lot of other products too. I mean, but it's unique that way that we bring together these channel partners, and what we do for them is we help them see into the future. We help them understand how to achieve their goals or power their next move is kind of what we've been saying. But really, our mission is to help lead this channel forward. So a lot of the work you guys are doing in AI is particularly interesting to us because clearly that's future focused. I mean, it's here now, but it is still in the forward lens for a lot of our members. And so, what a little bit just about ISA and who we are and what we aim to represent. I mean, this is a big industry. A lot of
Yeah.
people don't realize how big the industrial MROP channel is. It's a $200 billion plus
Wow.
industry, representing over 1.2 million jobs just in the United States. We serve over 65%, our members and manufacturers and distributors are serving over 65% of the US GDP. Think about our end user markets that are critical to the infrastructure: aerospace, automotive, defense, semiconductor, agriculture, you name it. You can't do that without cutting tools, abrasive, safety. And so it's a really important industry. And I'm thrilled to be working with a phenomenal board of directors and a great membership base that really is on board with our mission. So we're excited. Lots of things upcoming, and I'm like a pig, and you know what? It's fun here.
So
So Brendan,
it's
so,
me.
so Brendan, this is probably a little well-known, a well-kept secret. That's what I'm looking for. You guys are one of the biggest distribution associations that we have. Yet you've got a staff that is somewhere between a quarter and a half the size of the other tier one associations. This is the definition of a high performance team. How do you guys do this? How do you pull it off?
We are nimble, man. I mean, I think that we have 8.5 employees, so myself included, and that half is a seasonal employee that handles customer service during our busy times. But it's all about switching gears. It's all about understanding exactly how to do 10 things in a day that maybe are different, and that's really a unique skill that a lot of associations struggle to do. A lot of them focus primarily on their convention, which, look, our convention is still super important to us and we want to make sure we execute there. But that's only 3 days out of a 365-day year. And so we have to focus on all those other days. And in order to do that, we have to be just able to pivot into a lot of different ways. And so I am super lucky to have the hands down best association team that exists. I mean, without fail, every single one of them is a phenomenal contributor, and I'm just the luckiest guy to be in my role that have the team to support me.
I, I've not seen anything like it. I mean, you must hire very well.
I mean, that's a compliment to me, but again, the team is they're truly phenomenal individuals.
Wow.
And in addition to the manufacturers and distributors, you have a lot of rep firms that are part of your group too,
That's
right?
right. So, we understand that getting to market and the shifting dynamics at the end user require, in a lot of cases, technical expertise, and we are working with some phenomenal rep agencies that not only have that technical expertise, but they're professionally run. I mean, this is not a just a lifestyle business anymore. It
Yeah.
is an active go-to-market strategy for manufacturers and distributors to provide enhanced value to end users. So I can't say enough about the rep firms we're working with. They truly are a great group, and they enhance the channel overall.
Yeah, and by the way, if any of the listeners have a question, please feel free to jump in. There's a Q&A button at the bottom. We'll work it into the flow. But what do you think are the key trends and challenges going on in the industrial supply channel right now, Brandon?
Well, I know we're going to get into digital
Yeah.
because that's your guys' favorite topic, and it's an important one to talk about. I think in the channel, I am seeing probably closer relationships being a trend that I think is being highlighted more and more. So the relationships between manufacturers and distributors and key individuals, I think, is because of the pace of change, it has become premium. I mean, if you have the opportunity to be transparent with your channel partner and work together closer, either through a digital bridge or just through a relationship, that is a multiplier effect for value to the end user. And so I think that it's a great thing and a great time to be a trade association, because that's our platform, is we
Yeah.
do connect these people. So there's one thing. I think the other thing that really jumps out before we get into our big topic of digital is talent. I mean, the skills gap that we're hearing all the way up and down the channel, from manufacturers all the way to end users, is real. We have a aging workforce that is, and well deserved, looking to step out,
Sure.
and looking to pursue their next chapter. And that's going to leave a void of industry knowledge and a void of even product expertise. And so we believe that that's our opportunity as an association to provide some value in there. But it's top of mind for big, small, publicly traded, family owned, you name it. Everybody is saying talent keeps me up at night, making sure I have the right people around me. And luckily,
Sure.
I have the right people around me. So it keeps me up at night, though. I want to keep every single one of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then the last, obviously, digital. I mean, and the trends around AI. It's hard to keep pace. And I think
Right.
if I look internally at my members, with, I'm sure, a few shining examples, most are still trying to figure out what step one is, or step two.
Right.
And that's a scary place to be, especially when there are fine people like you telling everyone you're way behind. Come on, freak out. And like,
Well, we don't want them to freak out.
I know you're not saying that,
Right.
but
Right.
I
Right.
think it's a little scary out
Right.
there, because you have limited resources, you have limited time, and you need every next step to be the right step. You don't
Right.
can't afford a misstep, and there's so many pitfalls that you guys do a good job of talking about, and so many checking the box things that companies do, that
Right.
maybe are not strategic. And so, I think that they're all having conversations with each other. They're all listening to good thought leaders like you guys,
Right.
and they're trying to figure out what their next move in that area is. But it's definitely top of the list.
We did a 2.5 hour workshop last week or 2 weeks ago in Houston for a different distributor trade association, and it was about how to use AI. And there's so much noise around the signal right now. I mean, everybody says they've got AI in their technology, and people don't really know what AI is and how it's different from advanced technology and what's new about it. Why do we use that name? And so what we find is getting people a plan together. Okay, so here's how to start, right? Here's what to think about, but also here's what's coming next, like this agentic AI. That's AI acting as an agent on your behalf. So, if, the simple example I use in the column I just wrote is, right now, if you want to schedule a trip to go to a conference, you've got to open up the United app or whatever, and the rental car app, or and the hotel app, or different websites, and you have to put it all in your calendar and juggle your schedule and track your receipts. Well, agents will do all that for you. You'll just say, I need to be here on such and such a date, set it up, and it'll go out and do all that stuff for you. And that power is right around the corner. Well, that's a much more proactive way of using AI than asking an LLM a question. But now you think about the business applications. It's like, well, I can use that in customer service. I can use that to plan inventory, to do my delivery routing, to run my analytics, and it becomes really powerful. Well, you can't do that if you haven't set your data up right, right? So a lot of what we talk about is, okay, here's how you get ready not only to adopt existing technologies but upcoming technologies too. And I'm talking far too much on AI, given that I don't have any formal training in it, and Jonathan has a PhD in computer science and AI, but he was a key part of the presentation. He spoke a lot more than I did at the presentation. Let's say that.
But he has an equal amount of gray hair that you do, so maybe some of his background is dated.
Yeah, it could be. Could
Okay.
be. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that I had a good conversation yesterday with a mutual friend. You guys know Kevin from Around the Horn. We were just talking.
Hmm.
And, I think one of the things that we talked about is a reminder to people, because there is such a wide spectrum of where people are on this journey. I think for a lot of people, it's reminding people the risks of doing nothing. And I think that that's a key part to get somebody over that hump, and to realize that it's not a check the box exercise. It is a strategic thought that requires a reimagining of part or all of your business to some degree. So I think that we're still so early, and industrial is not a new industry. We've been around, and some of our companies have been around for over a century. And so they are maybe not always the quickest to jump, but when they do, I mean, it's with full force. And I think that for some of our member companies, they are still trying to understand how quickly they need to move and in what direction. And so, again, guys like you are helping them, sort that out. And certainly through some of the educational programming that we do at ISA and ISA's conventions, we try to illuminate that, because it's a scary world right now. Scary.
Brendan, let's play out a scenario on this with your member base. We're going to share this at the AI conference in June. We think that between now and the end of the decade, so call it 2030, companies will be 30 to 40% more efficient. And that could mean they're doing more with same. So that could show up as revenue per employee, gross profit per employee, pick your metric per employee. That could show up as more with less. It might show up as, hey, we literally are just going to keep our staff where it is now, and then we're going to be 30 to 40% more efficient over a period of 5 years. Well, so think about what that means in terms of what you could do with pricing, right? And so if there's a 500,000 distributors in this country, and 10,000 take these steps and 490,000 don't, what do you think that looks like in 2030 for those that don't?
I mean, it's a challenge. I think you either need to evolve or differentiate, and I think that both of those options are available. I think that there are some distributors that carry such technical expertise, and have built relationships that that's not as easy to replace with technology. And so there are certain things that make a distributor's value unquestionable. And I think that I don't see that going away by 2030. I don't see that ever going away. We believe at ISA in the go-to-market strategy through distribution. And so that I think that there's always going to be something there. And it's the same reason why a local regional distributor that has a ton of technical expertise can beat Grainger on a deal or beat Amazon on a deal. It's that there's something unique on that. That said, I mean, there are repeatable tasks, and there are parts of the middle of your P&L that you're looking to streamline, or that if somebody could tell you, I can take 30% out of this cost center, or I can optimize your FTE line in this way, how do you not pay attention to that? I think that that's going to happen. But I think that there's a piece of this business that, has gone through other ups and downs, meaning like, the rise of .com, or, even dealing with the war effort back in the 40s. These are major disruptors that challenged it, and we navigated through it. And some pieces of our business are still the same. And so
Yeah.
I think that there's going to be something that remains, but we will definitely evolve. And I don't think all 490 are gone. I think that those that stay are going to have to differentiate.
Yeah, I listened to your interview on DC Cap's podcast a year ago, and it was really interesting because you mentioned that the association's been around since 1902. And yeah, I was wondering, has anything changed since then? No, I'm just kidding. But what I love is you're keeping the reputation and performance of the organization to the same high standard, and that's not coming from me, although I agree. But we got this comment from Will Quinn in the chat here. Will's over at Infor. He's trademarked the term the distribution guy, which tickles me every time I think about it. I love that. And Will says, ISA is truly the premier association for our industry. Brendan and his team are doing incredible work, driving innovation and providing invaluable resources. Their dedication to the industry is evident in everything they do, and they are a fantastic group to collaborate with. Highly recommended, exclamation point. So there's an unsolicited testimonial from someone who loves working with you and your team. So that's
I
awesome.
don't think, yeah, I don't think Will and I have ever met, but Will, if you're out there, just kidding. I know Will, Will really well, but thank you, Will. It's really nice to say, and Infor is truly a good partner on our mission, not just
Yeah.
sponsor or whatever, but they believe in the same things we believe in, and we're aligned that way. So I appreciate the kind words, Will.
Will spoke very well at your conference last year in Charlotte, by the way.
100%. He's great. I mean, he doesn't get that title of distribution guy for nothing. He knows what he's
Right.
talking.
Yeah. Yeah. He certainly does. Okay. So here's a question from Paul Kennedy. Hi, Paul, friend of the company, friend of yours, I know. Uh, the shift of available labor is going to mandate an increase in productivity derived via technology. It might mean different things to different folks, but everyone is going to have to do something. Right. Yeah. So there's just not that much labor out there. So if you're going to keep up just with the workload, I think is part of what Paul's saying. And then if you want to keep up with your growth, you're going to have to learn how to use technology to become more productive. I mean, you agree?
I mean, I think that as the world evolves, we all have to evolve with it. Otherwise, we're without a purpose. I think that, Paul's right. We do have to learn these new skills. We have to learn how to keep pace with our competitors. Or, like I said, differentiate. If you've got something that makes you unique that nobody else knows how to do or nobody else can replicate with technology, maybe you're safe. But the vast majority of people out there are going to be competing against other people that have access to technology and access to tools. And those that are pursuing it are going to run faster and do it for cheaper. And so, yeah, I mean, the labor force has to adopt this. The good news is I think that, younger generations are going to grab onto this a little bit more. And so as people are moving into more senior roles, they're going to look at the requirements of that role very differently. They're going to see ways of running things as more efficiently. I mean, the up and coming generations despise the phrase "this is the way we've always done it," or let me show you how to do this. It's no, let me figure out a better way to do it.
Yeah.
And there's just there's a lot more information to digest and ways that you can DIY things yourself. You don't have to go to and get an MBA in order to learn how to run your business. You don't have to be mentored for 20 years by somebody in order to understand how to do exactly their job. I think this next generation wants to do the new job, whatever that looks like.
I think in part of what Paul alluded to also was there are places where we're not going to be able to get the employee resources. So many distributors live through and maybe are still living through significantly high turnover rates in the warehouse and for drivers, right? 50% turnover in the warehouse was not uncommon for a lot of distributors during COVID. And I think if we look at the different lanes, if we look at, say, sales, customer service, warehouse, drivers, that's where the biggest chunks of employees are. And those are going to have different adoption curves. So like the technology that's supporting the warehouse, we think is going to be more towards the end of that 2030 timeframe. Stuff for customer service is like right here, right now. I mean, you can look at 20-30% productivity boost right now with things that are available. Let's shift into digital transformation. Um, Talk about maybe what that means for your members, large and small, because it's really is a different thing for small members, right?
I mean, we people have been talking about digital transformation for half a decade or more, right? As like a featured topic of education and events and things like that. And so I think it's not a new topic, but I think there is more of a sense of urgency if you're behind on the um, on the curve. I think that most companies, if they really are honest and look at themselves, are behind. And they are saying, I know I need to do more. I know that in order to compete against a very large company or a more sophisticated company, I'm going to need to do more. And that goes beyond just setting up your e-com site. It goes beyond just getting your data in house or even bringing on a CRM. I mean, you guys are in this business. You know that there are decent sized companies out there that are operating without even a CRM. And so I think that tells you something about where people are on this spectrum. And What it means is that there's going to be some fallout. I mean, there's going to be some companies that, either don't have that differentiating point, that are going to either get acquired, or just say this isn't the game for me anymore. And it's like any business, though. I mean, you have to evolve, or else you're not going to make it. I mean, same for associations. If I stand still and do the same thing that they were doing in 1902, it's not going to work. People demand more. Our end users are demanding more. They're demanding all this frictionless experience. They're demanding what they want when they want it and for cheaper. And so I think that this is going to get driven by urgency, and urgency created at the end user. It has to start there. And if you're a manufacturer, distributor, IMR, you have to look there and say, how is this going to trickle down to me, and am I ready for that?
Brendan, before we continue, I just wanted to say, never mind the dog behind the curtain.
Yeah,
It's cute.
It
yeah.
was adorable.
She hears me talking, and every once in a while she pops her head in. So
Um, so when we think about this scenario for a smaller member, I mean, is it transform or get acquired?
I don't
Is
think
that
so. I mean,
no?
again, I don't want to keep saying the same point, but there's a reason why, yes, there's consolidation in our industry, and yes, the large are getting larger. But if you look at data from, say, Cleveland Research, and they track sort of this, even 5 years ago, I think it was like 25% of the channel was the top 25 distributors, and then everything else was like $50 million or less in terms of companies. That's gotten to be larger. The top 25 is now like 35%. But that's still a massive chunk that's made up of smaller companies. And there has to be a reason behind that. And it's not just we're waiting around to sell our business. I think that there's real value played. And I got to believe that, at least in our space, there's some real technical expertise. There is some deep-seated knowledge of what an end user really needs. And maybe that's engineering driven, and it's not just focused on procurement dollars. It's focused on solutions. It's focused on value added services to help them solve problems within our businesses. We had an end user panel that we're now going to start doing quarterly, where we bring real live end users on, and we get to basically focus group them. And we broadcast that out to our members. And they were illuminating to the fact that it really is about the solutions that they have, that they'll take solutions from anywhere. It's like, okay, if
Yeah.
you're having a hard time, with a labor gap, what can your distributors do for you? What can the manufacturers do to help you with that? And so a smart manufacturer or distributor is looking at that and saying, I don't care what the problem is at the end user. I'm going to try to solve it. And so I think that opportunity is there regardless of your size and regardless of your level of sophistication around technology. If you're not up to speed on technology, maybe you can't solve every problem, but there are definitely problems that you can solve, and that provides value. So,
Well, sorry, Brendan, but just to jump in, everybody talks about consolidation, but there's also new business startup, which is the other side of the coin, right?
yeah,
And so if you look at Census Bureau data, on average, we're 120,000 new distributors created per year in the United States over each of the last 5 years. Okay, which is a 50% faster business creation rate than the previous 5 years, right? And so you think about the number of distributors that get bought out, and then the non-compete runs out, and the former owner started another distributor, right? So it's constantly regenerating, and it's going to sometimes err on the side or skew to the side of more consolidation. Sometimes it's going to skew to the side of more startup, but the actual number of distributors in most verticals isn't really changing because there are others that are growing up. I mean, you talked about a distributor right before the call that nobody heard of a couple of years ago, and now it's hundreds of millions of dollars, right? I mean, these things happen, and so it's very easy to focus on, oh my gosh, consolidation, everybody's getting bigger. Yeah, that's happening. It's also being offset by a bunch of new business startups.
the trick is the volume isn't going down for sure.
Right.
It's going up. And so I think that it's just you're seeing legacy companies that are maybe 50, 60 years old, and it's the same owner since the founding or something like that that is being sold, and that grabs a really big headline. But you're
Sure.
absolutely right. It's just a changing. I mean, it's moving it over, and it's not all going to one company. I don't think that we're in the same challenge that some other verticals have, where it's all rolling up to five key players. I
Right.
just don't see that happening. So I think it's just a changing of the guard.
Yeah, it's interesting. If you look at the gas and welding industry, there were a couple of main consolidators over about a 10 or 12-year period, and they were it. I mean, now there's a few more consolidators, but you're right, it doesn't have that flavor in industrial. Hey, I want to shift to a different topic now. We had a question from Don about how distributors are responding to the uncertainty over tariffs. First of all, describe the uncertainty. Second of all, describe the response. I think there's two pieces in there.
Yeah, so I mean, I remember very clearly the morning that the first official news break. I mean, we all heard about it during the election cycle that these things were coming, but then boom, all of a sudden we're talking about U.S. and Canada in a very real way. Now we're talking about U.S. and Canada and steel, and aluminum, and now I'm like, oh, you know what? This is my members, and they are thinking about this. What does this do to products that rely on the imports? What about moving products across country lines several times before they get into the hands? Like, what is the reality around this? And so we had to dig into it, because what we were hearing from Wall Street Journal or CNN, Fox News, or whatever wasn't giving us answers. So we worked with NAW to get clarity right out of the White House, since they have the pipeline there. We have talked to several different experts to get clarity around this. We had a lobbyist from DC come on and talk to us about specifically what metals are being categorized, and what the impact of this is. And then we talked to our end users, and we talked to distributors about what this actually means. So we've looked at this from many different ways, and the reality is nobody knows. I think that we don't know, because there are looming deadlines, how far we are in on negotiations with these other countries. Nothing has been decided. I think that there's a March 12th deadline on the aluminum and steel. There's another deadline coming up on the extension from U.S. and Canada. And all of these things mean that it's up in the air. I think that if the question that Don asks about what are distributors saying, we do a show with Cleveland Research called Top Line Poll, or Top 3 and 5, where we ask, or where he Evan surveys all of the different distributors, and then I ask him what are the top three findings, and he asked about tariffs, and it's about a mixed bag. Half people are saying they're coming and we've adjusted our business accordingly. Other people are saying my business has been adjusted for me via price increases from some major manufacturers. And then others are saying, I don't know the long-term effects, but unequivocally, I don't think I've talked to a single ISA member that is in favor of these tariffs. And so that's interesting. That is something that while we feel that growing the U.S. economy is important, and certainly growing U.S. manufacturers is important, there's uncertainty around the long-term benefits of these tariffs, and a lot of doubt around what the end game is here. And so I think that what distributors are doing is holding tight. I think a lot of people are in a freeze mode. Some people are using it as an opportunity to pay attention to another part of their business and maybe shore up some other things, invest in technology or invest in people, and ready themselves for whatever contingency might be coming. But what I'm hearing mostly is a lot of people are just having tons of meetings to talk about contingencies, and creating more and more different layers of what if this happens, then what should we do here? Because this is going to, if it does come and we do get these full tariffs, and there's not a whole lot of clarity around what's tariffed and what's not, it's going to be chaos. And it's going to be just a really big challenge for channel partners. And so I'm thrilled, for me, very selfishly, that we allow a platform for this type of discussion, where channel partners on equal stakeholder positioning can come in and say, how do we navigate this together? And ISA allows for that. And so we're just going to keep looking at it. We're going to keep informing our audience about the realities as it pertains to them, as opposed to what the mainstream news might be sharing. And just hope that the chaos isn't as great as we all think it's going to be. But it's not looking great. I'll say that is looking like it's going to be a you know what show.
Mm.
It's interesting, Brendan. You know that we do these customer experience surveys. One of our distributors, who's in the industrial automation space, is now going to be asking their end customers, who are manufacturers, what do you think the effect will be on the cost in? And they have a choice: 5%, 5 to 10, 10, 15, et cetera, don't know. And what do you think will be the effect on the price out, meaning that you charge to your customers? So obviously you could say, well, the price in, the cost in is going to be the same as the price out. I'm just going to pass it on. I'm going to eat some of it, I'm actually going to figure out how to make even more money on it. Be curious to see what comes back from that. And I think it's going to vary significantly by the sector that somebody's in.
I
So
think it's going to vary differently based on people's manufacturing
right.
positions as well. I mean, there's going to be some big opportunities for people that manufacture solely in the United States to grab some share, and potentially even pass on price increases. So, I think that it's these times where there's a lot of uncertainty is typically a time where a lot of movement happens, and and people will take advantage of the situation, as they should. And so it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. The other thing that I'd say is we asked our end users in the last panel, what are you thinking about tariffs, and how is this going to impact? And without exception, every single end user said it's all about transparency. We look to our supply chain partners, and they use the term partners, as being part of our process. And if we get clarity and we get a lot of transparency, it's part of the business. I mean, we're all riding this together. And so that was encouraging to hear that the end users are not just, putting up a wall and saying, don't come to me with a price increase. They're understanding that if things go in a certain way, they're going to have to evolve. They're going to have to adapt. Otherwise, their supply chain might break down. So anyways, I thought that was an interesting point.
So we have a couple other topics to get to, but before we do that, I want to make sure we don't miss talking about your upcoming conference,
Yeah.
Brendan. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the conference, what you've got planned, why people should attend?
Yeah, so we are in Nashville this year at the Gaylord, March 31st to April 2nd. Really, really excited about this. We have more keynotes than we've ever had. We have some phenomenal breakout sessions talking about some of the topics that we just got into today. But things around tariffs, government relations, understanding the economy, and what's going to happen. The educational component I think is going to be first rate. And you guys participated last year, and that was we put a lot of energy into our educational programming, because this isn't just an area where people come and take notes. It's they're learning together. But on the keynote front, you're showing our keynotes. Yeah, we're going to entertain a little bit. The great Herm Edwards is going to come on and give us some story about leadership. We're going to hear from ITR Economics, new face from ITR after Alan's early retirement. We're getting to know Taylor, and I think he's phenomenal. A lot
Yeah,
of new energy.
Taylor's great. Taylor's great.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
think that people are really going to enjoy his perspective, and it's still ITR's perspective. We're also bringing on two new main stage keynotes or main stage sessions. One, we're going to have a live end user panel where we'll have 5 end users talking. You see some of them there with Ann Carroll and James Brown. Then we'll have NAW come back, Brian Wild, Chief Government Affairs Officer, coming on to give us his take on the legislative landscape. Again, we'll probably not script that one until that day, because what's happening in Washington is happening so fast. Definitely what I would say is there's too much to even cram into this time just to talk
Yeah.
about the level of speakers that we have and the different perspectives to share, but lots of value in the education. On the networking front, we're making sure that you have every opportunity to engage with your channel partners that you need. Our whole focus is let's make sure that our attendees don't waste a minute while they're here. And so there's literally something to do that connects you with your fellow attendee every single minute that we're here. Starting with our exhibit hall, it's you set all of your meetings in advance so you know exactly who you're going to meet with. You lay out the topics that you're going to address beforehand. So that's a really efficient way to talk to a lot of people. Big opening party on the showboat. We have a golf outing, and then something that we're doing, I think, is interesting. Is we have this new concept called the Exchange, and it is a topic-based roundtables where we are bringing people together in a unconventional way over lunch to talk about some issues that they all have in common. So we're asking people to pre-select. I want to talk about AI and technology, and so we're pairing them together with other companies so that they can just have an open conversation with some prompts. We've done this at our other event, Fall Summit, and it went really, really well and provided a significant amount of value. But what I'd say most about the education, I'm not about the education, about the networking, is that I can't think of a time where making sure you're close to your supply chain partners is more needed. We get a lot of comments of, well, I'll see those people in the fall, and I'm like, we're in a different world in the fall.
Right,
Like
right.
everything is shifting so fast. And so, when I'm analyzing what events I go to, I want to be where all the important people around me are going to be. And so if you look at who's registered for ISA, it is the best of the best manufacturers, distributors, and rep agencies. It is every major manufacturer leading every product category. It is distributors covering every square inch of the United States, Canada, and Mexico. It is those professional and technical experts in IMRs that you're going to be around so that you can talk about how this world is evolving and what you can do. If I knew that 800 people in my industry were all going to be in the same place at
Yeah,
this
yeah, yeah.
time, it's where I'd want to be.
Of course, right. I
So
mean, you miss so much by missing out on an event like that,
you
and
never know. And
um,
honestly, one conversation or two conversations can change everything.
yeah,
So it's where you want to be.
Brendan, your conference is phenomenal, and ISA is so much more than that. One of the comments from our audience, Bill, he says, we found incredible value in the ELCC program. That's executive leadership. What's the CC stand for?
it's emerging leaders
Yeah,
channel certification.
Emerging
yeah.
Leaders.
So
Okay. Okay. Emerging
yeah,
Leaders Channel Certification Program offered by ISA to not only help educate up and coming leaders at our distribution team, but also in expanding their networks for future growth and collaboration. Emerging Leaders is a great program offered by ISA. Maybe talk about that if you would.
sure. Yeah, I'm happy to. So we are entering into our third year, our cohorts 5 and 6, and that's after 4 cohorts that were sold out. This program is part networking, part education. The networking aspect is attendance at our fall summit, which is a phenomenal professional development event with over 20 sessions, 300 individuals, which is a large professional development event, bringing together emerging leaders, women in industry, our channel pros, in a very non-transactional way. You're not coming there to talk about business strategies you have together. You're coming together to learn and be part of that. So that's one aspect of the ELCC. The meat and potatoes of it, though, is the 8-week course that we have. It is led by, I think, the preeminent experts in channel optimization, the guys from ActVantage, Senthil and Pradeep. They have literally written textbooks for NAW and former Texas A&M instructors who have developed a customized program for this. And what it's really doing is it's teaching people ISA. It's teaching people how this channel operates from end user all the way through to manufacturer and IMR, and the interdependencies and the ways you can navigate your way through conflict and find common ground. They've created this strategic framework that allows people to get through that. And by and large, this is missing from professional development in this channel. You see a lot of larger companies offering internal programs for emerging leaders that are soft skills like negotiation, or they're focusing in on product. There are other entities that are offering how to run like a good distributorship, but nobody is teaching channel. And God, I mean, if you talk about that aging workforce that is about to step away, they've lived channel for 30, 40 years, and so it's inherent. But the next generation maybe has only worked at this company for 5, 6 years, and they're going to be asked to take on a leadership role and start managing channel relationships and understanding how the other side thinks. And so we think that there is a huge gap that we need to help close. And so this program has done that. So first-rate education, excellent networking, and it's creating that next class of industry veterans. I mean, we know that we have such great industry veterans in the industrial channel, people that are giants like Bill, that have come up in this industry and spent their whole career there. Who's going to be the Bill in 15, 20 years? We need to make sure that we're creating more Bills. So this program is lights out. If you're interested, it's takes about 13 months to complete with the two events, and during the education program, it's about 2 hours a week, all virtual, not traveling for that. So I can't speak highly enough about this program, and we're excited to see where it goes.
Well, that's pretty amazing. We got a couple other questions. I've heard this before about the LCC, by the way, but so a couple of other questions that are related. So Paul Kennedy wants to know, how do you think technology reduces or expedites the onboarding and upskilling effort required? Right. So I would say, when you think about onboarding either at ASA or for your member companies, what has technology done to make the onboarding and upskilling easier, or just upskilling current employees into new jobs?
I think it's improved it significantly. I mean, with the rise of companies that have access to online learning and the ability to do that cheaply and fast, it's giving companies the ability to tap into LMS's, learning management systems, that can give opportunities to anyone. The warehouse person can learn sales. An IT person can understand and take a leadership course and understand that. I mean, think about that if you are a business owner or a leader in your business and you hear from somebody that has aspirations, but it's not easy for you to create a learning pathway for them or even a career pathway for them. They can create their own using technology and using some of these lower cost solutions to help with that. So I just mentioned the education aspect. I mean, onboarding, again, technology makes this a lot easier. I don't remember. I try to remember what my onboarding looked like at my first job, and it was a grueling, terrible couple of weeks where I was going and sitting with someone who didn't want to talk to me, who was doing it as a task, and now all of a sudden you can streamline that in a engaging way. You have like interactive programs that you can put together
Right.
cheaply and easily. Using AI. You could probably type a prompt in and say, create an onboarding for me, and here are the 5 key points I need entered, and then put it into a software that allows that to be delivered on demand. It's fascinating how much you can do.
That's exactly what our COO, Brian Hopkins, has done for our business, by the way.
Right.
It's just amazing. Related, maybe follow-on question to Paul's from Adriana. Super, super smart consultant. Upskilling and reskilling are consistent response to how we deal with the impact on jobs. Other than upskilling humans to get better using tech and machines, are there valuable, more quote unquote human skills you think distributors should invest in?
Um, I think that this is it's a leadership question, and I'd love to get your guys' take on this too. But I think that there has been a shift, and maybe there's a little bit of clawing that back of putting more emphasis on what the employee wants versus what the employer wants. And I think that there is a big opportunity for leaders to listen to their employees because they're telling you what they want. They're telling you what motivates them, and every single one of them is different. So it's not easy to do. I'm not saying it's a turnkey thing where it's like all of a sudden I'm going to create a different plan for every single employee at a company like mine with only 8. That's still a challenge. But I still think that it's the reason why I get high productivity and good retention out of employees is because I'm listening to what they want, and what they want is unique. And sometimes that's an advancement pathway, or it is sending them to develop their own credentials. But what they want might be different than what you think they want. It might not just be comp. It might not just be a title bump. It might be sponsorship to go to an event, or to enroll in a mastermind program, or to enroll with a mentorship with potentially somebody in the same vertical as you. We think that that's shifted, and the ways that employees can open up their minds to what their employees want, I think, is going to be a big differentiating factor for distributors or any companies out there. It's got to listen.
It's a different world in distribution now. If you look at the role of whoever the head HR person is, whether they're director title, VP, or C-level title, they have a different seat around the management table than they did 5 years ago. It's a more empowered role. And we've had Dirk Beveridge on our show a couple of times, and he talks about a company's employee value proposition, right? So we talk about customer value proposition. What's my value proposition to employees? So I think you're spot on there on the need for the soft skills, and that it's going to need to be more employee focused. So
Well, you got to invest. I mean, you got to show an earnest effort that you're investing in them, and that doesn't necessarily need to mean dollars. Maybe it's just your time, or your focus, or your ability to include them in a conversation that allows them to speak their perspective. I mean, I think it's important. So it's just showing an earnest effort that you care about their well-being, and that you're there to help them in their career, not just get productivity from them. The productivity comes as a product of that, I think.
happier employees are more productive, and they stay with you longer.
Yeah, and
And
they
I
make happier customers.
That's right. And Dirk's the man. I mean, he understands this, and that's
Right.
why he's leaning into it so hard, is that it can be a major differentiator for any company. Again, you mentioned my team size. We can do what we can do because I believe that they're happy in their roles, and hope they're listening and they agree. But they're happy in their roles, and they feel challenged appropriately, and they feel like they're part of something bigger. We don't I don't make every decision. I try to make as little as I can because they're smart people, and you got to let them do what they're doing.
So, okay, so Joyce Lansdale says, hi, Paul. She's talking to Paul Kennedy, but it's relevant to this conversation, so we'll throw it in there. At Valen, we use Proton AI, and our ability to educate a CSR has improved dramatically. Onboarding a new rep to be able to speak intelligently to a customer is nearly automatic. And then Kevin Brown, our good friend Kevin Brown, who does the Around the Horn podcast, of course, and is at Lead Smart, says, if you had Dirk on with you three, it might be the best panel ever.
But we'd have to have Kevin as well.
I think so. Kevin would be right in there, right?
Yeah.
Not wear the shirts that you guys had to wear for that one for Kevin's. I'm out. I'm out. If I have to wear an ugly Hawaiian shirt, I'm out.
You can wear no shirt. I mean, whatever you like. Good. Well, I tell you, I think we're kind of at a natural wrap-up point, Brendan. I hope that you enjoyed the conversation. We certainly enjoyed it. I do want to do a little bit more business before we go. So if people would hang on, I would just like to tell you about some upcoming shows that may well be of interest to you. So we have State of Distributor Technology. Jonathan's doing this one. This is a research-based overview of technology that distributors use. He'll talk about adoption, characteristics, etc. It's a really fascinating look at technology in the distribution industry. I highly recommend it. This is sponsored by Shopify, who's a new sponsor for us, and Epicor, so we thank them for their support. And then on March 12th, we have a technology leader panel on how distributors use AI to drive sales effectiveness. We'll have Chris Fisher, who's the VP of e-commerce at ECI, Zach Pretzel, who is an account executive at Endeavor, Varun Sridharan, who's the director of science development at Infor, and Kristen Tom, who's a senior VP of customer experience at Whitecap, all in a fascinating discussion about how AI is very, very rapidly changing the landscape when it comes to sales effectiveness. So don't miss those. In the meantime, Brendan, thank you so much for joining us. It was a great conversation. We really enjoyed it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was awesome, guys.
Awesome. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on the Wholesale Change Show. Bye now.
Bye-bye.